Good morning, Israel. Arise and awaken, my brothers. Let me see if I can adjust this light a little better. I see that glare across the screen. Let's take it down. First notch. I think that looks best. Hope you like it too. So I've got 4 different settings. The light off beside me, and it's the 3-way light. This is the fluorescent, or no, it's the LED. I don't like the quality of the light. It doesn't use much wattage though. So we go with it. It's in that position so I can, if I'm boondocking, I'm not dragging on the battery too much. I like the incandescent bulb much better. Can you believe that the Congress was going to make incandescent bulbs illegal? Yeah. I mean, what kind of freedom is that? What kind of usurpation of our freedoms is that? I think Congress does not have an 8% approval rating. I think we're pretty much headed, we're at 4% at best, and we're headed to 2%. The most important thing we can do is awaken our brothers and sisters in Israel. So do me a favor, like this video so I can get it up in the algorithm a little bit. Share this video. Subscribe to the channel. I have about half the viewers on this that I do on the Dr. Kent Show. The Dr. Kent Show, I welcome you to it. We cover more of the philosophy, more of the politics. And in my show this morning, which is the day after Insurrection Day, and my message to Donald Trump, I tell you why Arizona is the problem state. The people in Arizona are a bunch of freaking narcissists. They think they got the best state. They got about the worst state government that there is. It's super corrupt. I mean, and they don't like higher degrees, so they don't compensate people and pay for it. And as a result, it's just a bunch of dumbasses. I lived in Mississippi for 4 years, and I thought that was a problem state. My supervisor told me it was a problem state, and the average education level in the state of Mississippi was only 10th grade. And I thought, my God, that's just horrible. They need to be better educated than that. Well, I didn't realize what Arizona was like or about. Arizona, at the time I lived there, and I think it's gone down, it had the average educational level was only 7th grade. And you may say, my God, how do those people function? I mean, how can they be free? They just can't. I mean, 7th grade education, how do they function? Well, it turns out that you have average 7th grade level because of the outsiders you bring in. You see, they enrich us. Bullshit. They drag you down. You bring dumbasses on the roads, you got more auto accidents. You got more crimes, too. They have a whole different outlook on things. They grow up drinking. Drinking and driving to them is, what's the problem? There's no problem to them. Sex at age, whatever it is. What? I mean, what's the problem? They don't have a problem with that. Buy my sister, as the old joke used to be. She's a virgin. Yeah. Okay, great. Good morning, folks. This is Awakening Israel. And that postage stamp of a country is not exactly what this show is about, nor do we support that postage stamp of a country. We are Bible readers and Bible believers. We understand the truth that's in the Bible and we embrace it. And we need the rest of the country to get there because they have been deceived. We were all deceived. The purpose of the CIA is to make sure that you grow up deceived and you don't know the truth. We live in a vast land of propaganda in a police state that would make, oh my God, it would make Lenin jealous. Trotsky would go nuts if he could see what we have here today. All the previous dictators would just marvel and envy at what we have today. And you and I are stuck with it. This is the day after Insurrection Day, and those poor people are still in jail, still in prison today, being held in horrible conditions. Now, a lot of them aren't really even being charged. Some of them don't see people for weeks. Some of them don't get showers for weeks. And you say that only happens in third world nations. Well, welcome to the shithole called the United States of America. That's what we've allowed this to become. You got a CHICOM agent in Washington, D.C. That's all there is to it. Forgive me getting off in a rant. I'm just a human being. I got my Bible out. We're going to read it and cover it. It'll help bring me back to earth. This thing keeps me sane. As you can see, I can go crazy on my own. But this book really helps me to understand much more. You need to get one of these. This is the proper name version of the King James Bible. You can see the King James Bible is in real big capital letters. And you can see proper name version in upper and lowercase, both. Okay? This is a wonderful Bible. This is the only product I have to sell. Take the link down below. Buy one of them. This is the cheapest price you're going to get on these anywhere. You can't get a cheaper price on these anywhere. At least that's what the publisher tells me. And that's what I'm going with. And yes, I do get a commission off it. That's the only income I have. I don't collect offerings and tithes or any of that stuff. I know it's in the Bible. It's not mentioned enough in the Bible for me, though. It's got to be in there at least twice before I really want to pay attention to it. And there's no double witness on that stuff. It's in there in a couple, 3 ways. Yeah, 4 ways maybe. But not a one of those things is repeated. And in the Bible, when it's repeated, we call it a double witness. And that means God wants us to pay attention to it. Yahweh wants us to pay attention to it. All right, it's important. It's important enough to be mentioned twice. Like the 10 Commandments are mentioned twice. Those are important. The curses for disobedience and the blessings, the rewards for obedience, those are in the Bible twice. However, some things are in the Bible 5 times, a handful of times. One of those being, do not give your daughters to the people of the land for wives, and do not take the daughters of the people of the land for wives for your sons. That's in there 5 times. Okay? Which means it's real serious law. It's not just evidence. It's evidence of the law. Of your, do not commit adultery. Do not water down your seed. Do not adulterate your people. And it also means don't cheat on your spouse. And don't water yourself down either. You get the fullest reward by sticking with the wife of your youth. I miss my college girlfriend quite a bit. I feel lousy for what I did back then. I was stupid. She would have been a good wife. You can't get a good wife today, in my opinion. Everybody's changed. It's changed too much. It's deteriorated too much. Don't get me wrong. I know some of you out there got fantastic wives. I look and I marvel and I think, well, you know, if Yahweh wanted me to have a wife, he would have issued me one. So I tried one time, and the devil's daughter is what I ended up with. I got that one annulled. Yeah, don't worry, she's still alive. She's still above ground, but we don't know what happened to her 5th husband. He disappeared from the face of the earth. Yeah. I was husband number 6. She didn't tell me about that. And she was only 35 years of age at that time. She was a nurse. A nurse is a problem profession, kind of like a waitress. It is a problem profession. I think the prostitutes are a level above them. Oh, I know you nurses are going to be upset by that, but you need to understand that in your profession, you do run across those women that have some really ragged personalities that probably drive you nuts. And it's kind of like that in waitressing. You have what you call waitress love. And in nursing, it attracts some unsavory sorts into that profession. They're willing to commit genocide. Look at what's going on. There's another 5-thing witness. Actually, there's 2 more I want to cover. The first one being the evil that's not documented very well in the Bible. It's in there, but you have to read it quite a bit to understand it. And that is cued, your clue is when it says that they did things that were evil, that were horrible, basically. Things that never even entered my mind, things that never crossed Yahweh's mind. He never conceived that such evil was, he never even imagined it. It's that evil. And so you have that mentioned about 5 times. And that is passing the babies through the fire and doing the horrible things which continue to be done to this day. And if you want to know what it looked like, you just have to Google July 3rd, 1933, Soldiers Field, and watch the video. I'm not going to say any more on that. There are different pages and comments on that. But July 3rd, 1933, a ceremony was held, repeated 3 days later. Thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, over 100,000 in the first, took place in the first one. I think it was 150,000. I think the second was like 55,000. So you'll get a good view of it, and you go to the ancient artworks in which you see somebody's bigger than somebody else, and they'll tell you, well, that just shows their power. That's not because they were physically bigger than the other person. Well, I hate the Smithsonian because every time we turned in giant bones to them, they were lost, destroyed. Maybe they were sold. I think they were ground up and sold to the evil ones who are trying to keep up their DNA, their fallen angelic DNA going. So there's a lot packed into this opening. I hope you got that. The 5th thing that I want to point out is in the Bible, there are 3 landmarks repeated. And I think it might be 4 or 5 times. I haven't done a study and counted those, but I will at some point. And a river is mentioned. 3 landmarks are in the Bible. And these are the places to which the house of Israel, the northern 10 tribes, were hauled off to. And those were, one of those descriptions was they placed them between the Assyrians and the Medes, the land of the Medes, as a buffer zone. So if the Medes wanted to invade, they'd have to come through the Israelites. So the Israelites acted as a buffer zone to protect the Assyrians. And those things are mentioned in the Bible several times. It's important because from there, when we escaped, when we got our freedom, we bolted across the Caucasus Mountains. Hence, we're called Caucasians. That was somewhere approximately 650 BC. The southern half of Judah was hauled off by the Babylonians to Babylon. And they were on the Chabar River. They were held in captivity separately. And some of them went home. But not everybody went home to the Promised Land. You had the tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of Judah primarily that went back. And there were some problems with the tribe of Levi because they had taken foreign wives, which is in violation of the law. So they violated the law, and some of them, they weren't allowed to be priests again. They cleaned themselves up. Look up Ezra and Nehemiah in the Old Testament in the Bible, and you'll read part of it. And if you want to know more about it, go to the Apocrypha books and read Ezra, 1 Ezra, 2 Ezra. Esdras is how they were written from the Latin. I need you to do me a favor, a couple favors, a few actually. Let's first like this video. Let's pump it up a little bit. I'd like to double my subscribers. I'd like to break the 100 mark. Share this on social media. Leave a comment. If there's something you want me to cover, if the Spirit is talking to you and guiding you, saying, I want to know about this, put it down in the comments and give me some time. And don't be afraid to put it down there again, because the way these comments and all that come through, I don't get everything. So I don't get notified on everything, but be patient with me. When I can get a personal secretary, I will do so. When I've actually got some money coming in and I can hire a secretary, I want to hire a manager first and foremost. And it'll probably be a secretary, because women can multitask better than men. And why not have a female perspective? Maybe she'll watch my back better. I don't know. But I think men are more noble in many ways, so maybe I'll end up with a male secretary. that's what we started off with. Secretary of the departments were keepers of the secrets. That's what it meant before we feminized it and assigned a gender to it, which was a big bad mistake. So these things that are mentioned several times in the Bible are important. And the big favor I would like is you to go down there and buy one of my Bibles. I do get a small stipend from that. That's how you can support me. I'd love to see somebody order up a case of them and take those and walk into the prisons with those. Why? There are Bible readers in the prisons. They read the Bible. I was shocked at how much better they knew the scriptures than I did. And I sat there like the dumbass I was because I'd never read the Bible. Folks, I do not consider myself educated, even with a doctorate and 5 degrees. And even more informal training. I do not consider myself educated until I read The Foundation for All of Western Civilization, which, as you know, is under attack today. And that would be the same book that our founders used as their primary reader. The same book they all were educated from and they all knew. They all read the Bibles and they knew who they were. Yeah, I need you to buy the Bible. I need you to sit down and read it, because listening to me tell you what's in it, that's no good. The Spirit will speak to you differently. And hopefully you'll be able to leave a comment down there and say, hey, Dr. Kent, did you ever think of this? And bring something to my attention that the Spirit showed you in your Bible reading. You see, when we get together and talk, that's where the Spirit is. I love that. There's nothing more I love than to talk about the actual truth, what is really in the Bible. So, here's my big favor. Now, you can order the Bibles by calling up the publisher, and you make sure that the end figure of it is in 77 cents. That's how they keep my sales separate, and that's how you get the lowest price, and that's how you help me. And I want to give you greater value than what you're giving me. The Bibles that I will give you, the Bibles I'm selling you, the competitors would charge double or better for them. And the prices will be changing as time goes on. We've got plenty of them from my understanding, but the main thing and the reason the price is so low is the publisher wants to get them out there. And we are going to work on the Apocrypha books. And if I get 3,000 of you calling in or emailing in saying, hey, add me to the list for the Apocrypha, put me on notice, send me notice when it's available, then we can have it in about 6 months' time. However, that will be a print on demand, which won't be the better paper. So if I can reach 5,000 people committed to the Apocrypha, then we get the better paper. And not only that, I got a few more things that I want to do. I want large print. I want probably a black cover, and I want every one of those to be tabbed. With the new books, you're going to need some tabs so you can find those. So let's get this going so we can have a Bible with the Apocrypha. Now, there are 36 more books referred to in the Bible, and those would be important if we could find them. So when you read and you discover one of those books, mark that and realize that that gives that reference credibility. And you'll want to read the book of Jasher, and you'll want to read the books of Enoch. I have some trouble with that. It's very symbolic. I think it has something to do with Antarctica and the fact that that's covered up with ice and snow. No, it's not always covered up in ice and snow. The last time it was bare was about 1500, and the cartographer mapped the place. We got maps from it way back then. So those are kind of hidden. The Vatican likes to keep all knowledge to itself. Your first false flag event was the burning of the library at Alexandria. And they had made an announcement at the library that they wanted all books. Bring us your books so we can assemble all the knowledge here in the library. And people did that, and they brought, and books were expensive back then. And once they got all those books together, they created a false flag. And that false flag was they stole the books first out of the library, removed them, and then they burned the library at Alexandria. claiming they had burned the books. Then they did it again. They made the same announcement. They got the library filled up again, and then they burned it again, stealing the books. I believe those books are what lines the corridors, the shelves on the Vatican Library. 8 miles of corridors underground, under the Vatican. And they've got books from the previous ages there. So they've got all this advanced knowledge and science there. That's where the brain trust is for this. You want to call it the New World Order. I will call it the World Order. And it is the old world order brought forward across the earth ages. Those bastards have survived the last half a dozen of them from what I can tell. All right, I got to get more light here. Sorry for the... Yeah, there we go. We got that across there. That's... there we go. I got rid of that. Now let's go overhead. I'm sorry. Let there be light. I got to have some light. All right. I just happened to have the Bible sitting open. Page 1155 in my large print 14 point. Look at the size of that print. Can you read that? Psalms 136. Give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. Pastor Jerry Wickey told me that most pastors could do a better job just by reading the scriptures and not preaching anything, because they were busy preaching lies, because the enemy gave us their lies, their lying Bibles. The Schofield Reference Study Bible is the Bible of the enemy, and Pastor preached from it so he would know, but he actually had the copy that was the most revealing. In some of the headings and stuff, they revealed their plans whereby they planned on throwing Christendom and the Muslims at each other in a war. That's actually alluded to in the 1965 printing. I'd love to get a copy of one of those Bibles. I'd love to get one in large print. If somebody has one of those, I'd like to buy it from you, please. Psalms 136, continuing, verse 2. Oh, give thanks unto the God of gods, for his mercy endures forever. Oh, give thanks to the Lord of lords, for his mercy endures forever. To him who alone does great wonders, for his mercy endures forever. To him that by wisdom made the heavens, and by his mercy endures forever. To him that stretched out the earth above the waters, for his mercy endures forever. To him that made great lights, for his mercy endures forever. To the sun to rule by day, for his mercy endures forever. The moon and stars to rule by night, for his mercy endures forever. To him that smote Egypt in their firstborn, for his mercy endures forever. And brought out Israel from among them, for his mercy endures forever. With a strong hand and with a stretched out arm, for his mercy endures forever. To him which divided the Red Sea into parts, for his mercy endures forever. And made Israel to pass through the midst of it, for his mercy endures forever. But overthrew Pharaoh and his host in the Red Sea, for his mercy endures forever. To him which led his people through the wilderness, for his mercy endures forever. To him which smote great kings, for his mercy endures forever. And slew famous kings, for his mercy endures forever. And Og, the king of Bashan, for his mercy endures forever. And gave their land for a heritage, for his mercy endures forever. Even a heritage unto Israel his servant, for his mercy endures forever. Who remembered us in our low estate, for his mercy endures forever. And has redeemed us from our enemies, for his mercy endures forever. Who gives food to all flesh, for his mercy endures forever. O give thanks unto the God of heaven, for his mercy endures forever. That's the 26 verses, and each one ends, for his mercy endures forever. The endures is italicized, meaning it is a word added for the sake of clarification of the meaning. It's not in the original text. I want to point out to you, give thanks unto the God of gods. It's important that you know who the real God is, because the Bible has been obscured. Ptolemy II did the deed. We don't know if we're debating. We don't know, and we don't agree yet if he was a good guy or a bad guy. Right now I'm leaning towards bad guy, but he produced the Septuagint. He translated the Hebrew Bible into Greek. And when he did that, he took the name Yahweh out of it. And Yahweh was YHVH. And the letters A, the vowels A and E, were added to the Paleo-Hebrew. There were no vowels in Paleo-Hebrew. In case you're wondering, that alphabet came from the Phoenicians. It was the Phoenician alphabet that Israel adopted. And in case you're wondering where that came from, as near as I can tell, it came from what was Polynesia. Before the last Earth Age, they came probably out of ships. They escaped out of Polynesia and ended up over there in the Middle East. And so I think they came from Easter Island, the place with the big skulls, where most of those things turn out to be full bodies that were buried in the floods, previous Earth Ages, in which the floods, the muds, and all the water gets churned up on the surface. Not everywhere, but most of the place, and they were buried. So even though they're just the heads are sticking out of the island, the full body's down below. And the earth is growing, in case you're wondering. It's increasing in mass across the ages. The earth has cycles. The Apocrypha, we have an earth age given to us, defined as to how many years it is regarded as. And there are other cycles within that, which are very important to know, because some of those cycles, and these are major shifts in the earth, it turns out that those cycles coincide with these days that are in the Old Testament that we don't understand, that we say, oh, that's not true. Like the day the sun stood still up overhead for all day, or more than a day, until Joshua destroyed the enemy. That was probably one of those days of marking a transition in which the earth probably actually stood still. Maybe it tilted differently. Maybe the rotation changed for a little bit. Oh, in case you're wondering, right now the Earth's rotation is speeding up as we're going to the end of another Earth age. And it's going to continue to accelerate. It was designed that way. So it's important that you understand that God, the name God, the word God, the group, the classification of God, comes from Gad. Gad being the shortened name, the nickname for one of the 5 leaders of the fallen angels, Gadriel. Gadreel. Gadriel was the angel, the fallen angel that seduced Eve in the garden, had sex, and fathered Cain. Okay? You need to understand that. If it's the first time tuning into my show, you're going to go, huh, what the hell is he talking about? Yeah, I'm talking about the foundations of your hell, which you have on earth today. And by the way, we're going to take it back. We're going to establish the kingdom of heaven on the earth. I already pronounced that a few years back. I wasn't in my right mind. I was in the spirit. I don't like that very much. It's not a fun place to be at times, because it's like, how can I declare that? What power do I have? What am I doing saying this stuff? Okay, so God came from Gadriel. So when you talk about the word of God to me, you need to understand it's the word of Yahweh. He's got a name, and you need to learn that name. That's why you get my Bible. It's been restored. And so you will learn the name, and it'll become second nature to you. I had a real rough time 3 years ago when I discovered this Bible. I mean, I had read the Bible 10 times or something, and then started with the NIV study Bible in modern English, then went to the old King James in the old English, and oh my Lord, and read that 7 times after reading the NIV 3 times. And then I did a parallel one to read them both at the same time, did that a few times. So I had a rough time with the transition. And by the way, Jesus isn't his name, it's Yahshua. And so you think you got a rough time with Yahweh, wait till you try to learn Yahshua. And most of the time throughout the proper name version in the New Testament, he's referred to as the Messiah rather than the Christ. The Christ is mentioned once, and Christians are mentioned a couple of times, but that was it. And if you read it in context, you will realize that there really never should have been a religion known as Christianity, known by that name. Yahshua himself referred to it as the way. He was the way. He also referred to it as the faith of our fathers. Now think about that. Our fathers. Patriarchy. And what is the Jewish faith today? It's followed through the line of the mothers, matriarchy. Now hold on to your horses a little bit. There's good reason to go through the matriarchy, by the way, because we inherit the mitochondria of our mothers. We get that from our mothers, not our fathers, and that's the energy generator for the cells. So we all inherit that from our mothers. So just so that you know, there's a physical basis. Now, I know everybody thinks that there's life off the planet. I think there is, but I don't think we can live off the planet. I don't think that we are allowed to go out there. I think we're barred from that. I do believe that most of your genetics don't come from your parents. It comes from the bionome, from the living material around us and that we take into us, that we ingest and inject sometimes too. So we get our genes from outside of us. And that's why we are called earthlings, and I don't believe earthlings can exist anyplace else but the earth. So your idea of going to Mars, which was inhabited one time, by the way, and the evil ones destroyed the atmosphere on that planet, and there's remnants of the vast civilizations. You can see straight line roads up there. Well, not with the naked eye, and they're not readily available even with telescopes. But they're up there. There's pyramids up on Mars as well. I think there's a Sphinx up on Mars as well. They use the Sphinx to mark the timeline so that we will know the Earth ages and when the change occurs, which we are coming up upon. It will not be the end of the world. End of the world as you and I know it, for sure. It'll be the end of an Earth age. The Earth will be reborn. The pangs of birth are very real on the Earth. And as I mentioned to the Navajo school bus driver last year that it was the end of an Earth age, he said, "Oh, that's not good for any of us on the surface." He was a wise man. He understands. He understands that this is going to be real rough on the surface. So you want to learn God's real name, proper name. In your first commandment, what is that? Have no other gods before me, which means I believe that obligates us to using his proper name. So if you want to really be rescued, to be saved, call upon the name of Yahweh. It's in there in Genesis when men first began to call upon the name of Yahweh. That's what's in this Bible. Much more accurate Bible than your King James. Yeah, we got an improved Bible. And here we have Lord of Lords. Lord is an important thing. Because for a woman, she will say, "My Lord," meaning her husband. And so you have basically Lord, which means a hierarchy. And sometimes these lords are the bad guys like Baal. That can refer to God. It can, it could be translated as God. It could be translated as Lord. In other words, it's like a pronoun or a category. And the proper name for him would be Molech or Baal, and Molech could be spelled with 2 O's or 1 O followed by an E. If you want to understand world history, go to my blog, givingpsychologyaway.com. Look up the last page. On the first page, there's a bunch of tabs that you can access things easily. The last one is world history in one photograph. Go look that up. Educate yourself. That's an important photograph for you, especially for current events. You'll understand the Ukraine in perspective much better if you go look that up. So, Lord in the Bible, sometimes the L is capitalized, sometimes it's not capitalized at all. Sometimes all 4 letters are capitalized. And those were other words translated that way. So we have to really dig into this to understand it. It doesn't yield its stuff. It doesn't yield itself up to the casual reader. You have to press in. And the more you press in, the more it'll tell you, the more you'll get. So I think that those are 2 things I wanted to point out in particular. Was it, I keep wanting to say Isaiah, but it wasn't. It was the guy before him that did all the incredible stuff in Mount Carmel. Oh my God. What was his name? I should remember it. He had a sidekick that learned from him as well. That he wanted a double blessing. His master said, "I don't think you want that," and he got it. And Elijah was the prophet I was thinking of. He was the one that they set up the sacrifice and poured water on it, doused it in water, and he called down fire from on high, and it zapped it and took it all out. So you think that happened or didn't happen? And by the way, Ahab sent his men after him. I think one time, he sent 50 men after him to take him custody and bring him to him. And what did Elijah do? He called down fire from heaven, and he killed the men. And he did that to a couple of different groups. And the third time, the captain of the troop who showed up got down on his knees in front of Elijah and says, "Please have mercy on me. I've been ordered to do this." And he knew what Elijah could do. So he didn't want him and his boys to get zapped. It truly is an electric universe. You need to understand that it literally is electric. We are only now starting to study the sun and its electrical properties. And when the Earth age occurs, the Earth's atmosphere is so damn charged up that the menorah appears in the sky. As far as I'm concerned, the Jews stole the symbol. And what's the reference that we have? All of the cave art around the world has got the menorah depicted in it. Well, not all of the caves, but the menorah is depicted in a lot of the cave art, which was done at the same time by the survivors of the last Earth age. So that is one of the giant plasma displays that they see in the sky that scares the hell out of everybody. They also have what they call squatting man, this plasma charge that apparently walks across the face of the Earth. It is a scary time. You have to go underground. We will be going underground again. And there are caves across the planet in different areas. Find out where those caves are, because humans went into those caves in the past in order to survive. There are survivors of this. In this particular Earth age, the fellow that I respect the most claims that we're going to lose 10% to 50% of the Earth's population. So most of us will survive it. It's not going to be a major catastrophe this time. It's still going to be a major catastrophe, but it's not going to be as big as the last one. And the last one, it targeted the wilderness, the place with the most electrical storms on the planet. It targeted North America. So North America got whacked really hard. When your Indians, your Native Americans, the Mongoloids came over here after that. The people that were here before that were Caucasoids. We found 25,000-year-old skeletons of white men down in South America. It's funny as hell because they did an artist reproduction on the skeleton using clay, and it looked like Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek. Well, I guess that's the name of the actor. I'm not good with names, and I don't give a shit about actors and actresses. Everybody went gaga over them. I didn't keep up with that stuff well at all. This next time, Europe gets hit and Africa gets hit. They get whacked like crazy. And I don't know how they come up with that. I don't know. So don't take my word for it. Go look it up. And there's another guy out there. They both live in Colorado. I think one was in New Mexico, but I think he's in Colorado now. And the other guy makes other claims. He's really narcissistic, smokes a lot of pot. He's full of himself. He insulted me in the comments when I actually gave proper testimony truthfully on something, and somebody said I was fake news. No, I was the real deal. You want to understand this country, then go to the Decalogue stone. It's the stone that's outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a marker, a boundary marker, and it has the law of the land on it. And that stone they claim is a fraud. Well, I've been to it and I've seen it, and it's in disrepair. I would love to be a wealthy man. I'd buy that land up and try to stabilize that stone and preserve it. It has the 10 Commandments on it. That is not the oldest copy of the 10 Commandments in the world. Not by a long shot. And guess what the oldest 10 Commandments, copy of the 10 Commandments are in the world? They found them written in stone in a cave in North America. So that's the oldest known copy of the 10 Commandments. According to Reed Benson, the author of the Anglo-Israel Thesis, it's a wonderful little book. I highly recommend. No, I don't get paid a doggone thing off that. You can, if you get a hold of the author, you can tell him that I recommended his book. I know him somewhat, not that well. Visited him and his family. Brilliant man. Really should have a doctorate. He's got a master's degree, but he's a conservative fellow. They'll never give him a doctorate. You know, I may call him Dr. Benson occasionally out of respect to him. I think that book is written at about a 7th grade level, a junior high school level. It's a beautiful little history book. I highly recommend that if you have children, that you give them that book so they can read that and understand their heritage better. There's some incredible things pointed out. Solomon mined gold and copper up at the Great Lakes. It was a 2-year round trip to the New World and back. They sailed on ships of Tarshish. Read in the Bible, you will see that a storm came up and destroyed the ships of Tarshish. And when that occurred, sometime, maybe during the time of King Solomon, maybe afterwards, the Israelites that were in North America were abandoned. And they were abandoned up around the area of the Great Lakes. So the first red man, that's probably a violation of some sort of terms here, but I mean, that's what they like to call themselves as well. And I've never seen more Redskins jackets than on the Indians, especially up in Navajo area. They love wearing that jacket. They're proud of their heritage. And you white whatever weenies out there that insist on political correctness, you want them to be embarrassed and us to change names because of that. Good Lord! We call them the Braves because they were brave. They were warriors. It meant strength. Believe me, the Native American Indians don't care about that. They're proud of the fact that they are revered for being strong warriors. Real men. Anyway. Get Reed Benson's book. I was getting them for $10 a copy directly from him. I think that they last for sale on Amazon for $13 a copy. His lovely wife helped him with that book. She did a good job. You know, I was an English major. It was my first degree. And I read the book twice because it was so good. Really good. There's little pictures to break it up. Written much like a junior high school history textbook. I think it should be a history textbook when we actually get control back of our schools and educational system. I think if you're homeschooling your children, give them that book. There's other books called America BC. There's 2 volumes on that. I haven't read that. Those are highly recommended as well, and they cover the earlier days and what was here. And you ought to listen to the stories of the Native Americans, the indigenous peoples that were here, because they'll tell you some amazing, marvelous things. Just amazing bits of history, including about the giants. You know, the giants, the mounds, the skeletons, the burials that were found in Ohio. That's important as well. Well, today is the day after Insurrection Day, and I think we need to let that be a day of infamy. Just like Pearl Harbor, which was a false flag event. They knew about that attack at least 6 weeks in advance because they broke the code. And they didn't warn the generals in Hawaii for a reason, so they could provoke the Japanese attack to get us into World War II. Yeah, the guys that are getting us into this war got us into the other wars. Same group of people. Your Anthony Blinken, bad dude. You know, remind him every chance you get of pipeline diplomacy. He published the book about how you should do diplomatic relations by blowing up people's pipelines. You need to get rid of that jackass as fast as possible. I'd love to take him and hand him over to Putin and tell him, look, try him properly, and when you're done with him, we want him back. And I'd love to hand Barack Obama over to him as well, because he set that bullshit up. And John Brennan, why not ship his ass over there too, and Victoria Nuland? Hand him over to Putin. Say, here, we plea for peace. Here, accept our offering. Here are your war criminals. Yeah. And as far as Iraq goes, I don't know. We still got a Bush that's alive. Let's hand him over to the Iraqis and tell them, here, try his ass. And when you're done with him, if you are done with him, then give him back to us. Sorry, folks. He's a name changer as well. Do me a favor, couple of favors. The biggest favor is call the publisher up. Let's get your name on the list for the modern English version of the Apocrypha. If I get 5,000 names on that list, I get what I want. I get a modern English version of the Apocrypha that will have the spirit. Unfortunately, in the original King James, they didn't do too good. They chose the wrong text for sources. They buggered it up a little bit. The New Revised Standard Version with the Apocrypha in it doesn't have the spirit. Their committees they really didn't have good beliefs. They really didn't understand the Bible very well, to be honest with you. Yet they chose better sources of text, and they have a lot more verses in there. So we've got to sort that out. I want to give you the best apocryphal version possible. Now, if there's not enough people, then we'll go with print on demand, and we'll give that as well. But it's got to be fun choosing the text, the sources, and getting the best one, the real one out there. Gives you 14 more books. Very important books. The first Christmas is mentioned in the apocryphal books. The first marriage license or evidence or allusion to a marriage license is in the apocryphal books. The beast system that Daniel was not told about completely is in the apocryphal books. The United States of America's fate, or the fate of the evil ones, are in the book. The order for those who make it, upon their death, the order for them is in the apocryphal books. The order for the wicked is in there. There's 7 bullet points, basically. And the order for those who make it, there's 7 bullet points for them as well, regarding their rewards. Those are not in the original King James, but in the more modern version. Those are all important things, and I'm sure there's a lot more in the Apocrypha that I haven't pulled from it yet. Okay, folks, we've covered Psalms 130. I got to have reading glasses. 70 years of age. 136. Psalms. Real nice, brief book. I've come to like Psalms a lot more. It was too long for me. It's regarded as being the middle of the Bible. When we put the apocryphal books in there, it won't be the middle anymore. And the longest chapter was Psalms, I guess, 119. That's supposed to be the midpoint, and it's supposed to have the most pages of any book, any chapter in the whole Bible. So No, it doesn't. Oh, that's 109. No wonder I screwed up on that. I didn't turn to 119. But I will turn to 119 just to see for myself if that holds true. Okay. There goes a couple of pages, starting with 79. Oh, yeah. 176 verses in Psalms 119. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. That's more pages than the flood. Noah's flood, 6 pages of the Bible. Even the creation wasn't as long as Noah's flood. So was Noah's flood local or was it worldwide? Leave a comment down below. And there's no right answer on this. You can go to my blog, givingpsychologyaway.com, and on the home page you will find a tab called Your Heritage by Bertrand Comparet. You can download the text, about 51-page booklet. You can download the text freely, and you can download the only place on the internet with the black and white maps. I took the book apart and scanned it and uploaded it myself. And you will be able to see what Bertrand Comparet's belief is. So there's a chapter in there on that. There's maps about that. There are things that we do not have to agree upon. We'll know eventually. Someday we'll know the truth. We'll know the full truth. And we'll be able to, and we'll agree upon it then, I'm sure. Until then, Yahweh bless. Over and out.